Surprise! Drake put out more life. Like I've been talking about in the A-sides for the past couple months, Drake has an album that he's been teasing. He put it out last night on his radio station. I just listened to it. Here's my first impression. So if you saw my review of Views, you would know that I like Drake. I'm a fan of Drake. I think that early Drake is fantastic. My favorite album of his is Nothing Was the Same. It's experimental. He spits hard, and it's just memorable. I like his early stuff too, like So Far Gone and some of those early mixtapes. I think Drake had a lot of potential. I think he's gotten lazy and comfortable, and Views was kind of the culmination of that thought. I gave Views a very average review because nothing really wowed me from the album, and that was supposed to be his next big album after Nothing Was the Same. More Life was hopefully going to be, for me, a return to form for Drake. I gotta be honest, after listening to it, I don't think it is. Let me preface this with saying it's being called a playlist. I don't know if that's just a cool new way to say mixtape, but this is pretty much a Drake album. It's a very long album at 22 tracks, but even though it's called a playlist, I'm considering this a Drake LP because he clearly put effort into it, but was that effort worth it? Free Smoke is a very good opening track. It harkens back to the era of early Kanye, College Dropout, Late Registration, and of course the Chance the Rapper type music that's coming out now. It has this soul intro, but it quickly turns into a more hectic trap beat that's a little more aggressive. And honestly, the whole track was great. I was just hoping it had more of the soulful sound that it started with. And the rest of the album did not really go back to that except for a few small parts, so that was disappointing. That track was better than probably the majority of Views, so I was excited from the get-go. I was like, okay, this has potential. There was a cool segue into the next track. A lot of the tracks did segue into each other very nicely, which I did appreciate. And Drake started spitting with his, I guess, Caribbean, Jamaican accent. I'm not quite sure what it was, but that's not your voice, dude. I don't know why you're doing that. Like, you're hanging out with Rihanna too much. I don't know why you're doing that. I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's a little... It's a little, I don't know, what's the word? Disingenuous? It's a little fake. It's a little fake love. I gotta say, Gig's verse on it didn't really do much for me. I like Grime, and I don't really know him as a rapper, but yeah, it was kind of a lost verse on me. Song was pretty good overall, though. Passion Fruit is one of the best Drake songs that has come out in a very long time. It got me really hyped for the rest of the album. Unfortunately, it dropped off pretty hard after that, but I will say that the beat on this is absolutely terrific, and it's such a good vibe. I said to Chris, I would listen to this as like a 40-minute extended remix just because the beat is it just draws you in. It's hypnotic, and it's super pleasurable to listen to. It's the first song track on the album where Drake's singing using his R&B persona. So I love this track. This is easily the best track on the album. Maybe rival with one later that I'm going to get to. After that, the next few tracks had this tropical house vibe. They all had a very similar vibe. And the way I described it to Chris, and I think you'll probably agree when you listen, it's very good for passive listening. I wouldn't quite say it's active listening material. It's not a hip-hop album where you're going to dive into all the lyrics and really get invested in the track. It's definitely something you would put on when you're on a boat, or in my case, I don't have a boat, so a friend's boat. And I'd listen to that in the afternoon, drinking a couple beers. That sounds great, but there wasn't anything that was drawing me to it that I would ever put on its own. Gyalchester, I probably mispronounced that so badly. Like a few other tracks on the album, that was potentially a good song, but it laid on this very generic trap beat that I think Drake's above, personally. I don't think he needs to be rapping on these super simplistic trap beats. You should go back to Nothing Was the Same, where you were messing with your sound like crazy, and it was awesome. The Skepta interlude was awesome. That was pretty unexpected. When I saw that on the track list, that got me really excited. Skepta's one of the leading artists from the grime scene over in the UK. This was a great verse. I really enjoyed this. I would have liked more Skepta on the album, but take what I can get. Portland had a cool beat, but we were both weirded out by this like recorder sound that was in the back of the beat. Like it was like
so they got high, played Zelda, and said we should like rap over this.
Yeah, it was like a weird like 8-bit medieval trap song, and I don't know, it was a little too goofy for me. I don't think I would go back to it. Sacrifices was a weird song because you got some heavy hitters like 2 Chainz and Young Thug on the beat. They all sounded bored and relatively disinterested in their flows. Drake's verse was fine, but it sounded like, you know, slam poetry, but not like really good slam poetry, just like someone giving it a shot. 2 Chainz was back with his stupid lyrics that make me laugh, but overall I was like, this is a typical 2 Chainz verse, very silly, very pointless. And then Young Thug just shit all over the song at the end of it. It was terrible. Young Thug's verse was just like he repeated the word meat like 7 times in a row. It didn't make any sense. I get he's going for this kind of weird like I won't do what you tell me kind of aesthetic with his own music, but I don't know why Drake would listen to that and be like, come on my album. Young Thug sounded like a stoned high schooler trying to freestyle over a beat for the first time. I'm sorry. That's what it sounded like. Teenage Fever was a pretty good laid-back song. This was the first one in a while that I got into, and I really liked the J-Lo lyrics homage. That brought me a really weird wave of nostalgia for a song that I haven't listened to in at least a decade, so that was cool. I definitely thought that was a nice little touch. Lose You was another good track. It almost brought back the So Far Gone era of Drake, which was kind of this like meandering flow over like a really down-tempo, darker beat. I liked it. I thought that was one of the better tracks on the album. Can't Have Everything was almost a good song. The beat was really good, but Drake sounded bored. He sounded like he was phoning it in. He's not hungry anymore. There's something about Drake's latest releases. If it's not like a club banger or some radio single, he just sounds like he's not into it. He's not feeling like he's climbing up the ladder. He feels like he's at the top, and he's just ready to kind of sit back and relax. And I don't think he's there yet. I think there's more in him, and he's just not giving it to us. Glow is tied for my favorite song on the album, and you can guess why. It features Kanye West, and it's produced by Kanye, so the beat's super interesting. It's a really slow song, and I liked all of it. This track was definitely one of the most unique tracks on the album, and it got me excited for the inevitable Drake-Kanye collab album, like Watch the Throne was for him and Jay-Z. I think they've been hinting at it for a while, that it might be called Wolves. I don't know, but if it's like this song for a full album, that's going to be one to look forward to. The track was great, and at the end it had this soulful breakdown that Kanye is very good at putting into his music, and that was a really welcome touch on the album, where a lot of the songs before this had a very similar feel throughout the whole song, and that feel was mediocre. Fake Love is a radio single, everyone knows that. That's been overplayed since Hotline Bling. That's the newest, like, big one, or I guess One Dance, and then this. Of all of his radio hits throughout his career, Fake Love is not one of my favorites. I think it's good, but it's very similar to a lot of stuff he's done on the album, on features. It's not really a really interesting Drake song. So it's one of the highlights of the album, but that's saying something. Ice Melts solidifies that I can't stand Young Thug. I just can't get into it. I know he has a huge fan base, but I can't stand him as a feature. I can't stand his full albums. I don't think he's good at rap. I don't know why people are giving him the credit he deserves. If you have a good argument, please leave a comment and let me know. But everything I've heard, except for his verse on Jamie XX's album, has been just really bad or really weird. And I like weird music, but he just does it. Like, this song had him rapping what sounded like baby noises over the beat. It just is nonsensical. It's not fun to listen to. It's not creative. And I get it's like avant-garde, I guess. He's changing his name and he's wearing dresses. And I think that's super cool that he's developing this persona that's just trying to just be contrarian and whatever he wants to be. But you have to have talent and skill to back up whenever you're becoming a unique artist. You know, Prince, David Bowie, all these people, they were strange, but they had amazing musicianship behind the strangeness, which made it okay. You can't just be weird and have no talent, and that's what I view Young Thug as right now. So he's off my radar officially as of this album. Do Not Disturb, the last track, solid track. It did feel like a song that was left off of Views. It didn't seem like anything new. I feel like I heard that song on Views a couple times. Good end to the album, but overall, meh. So what do I give this album as an arbitrary first listen, first impression score? I'm going to sit and give it a 6.5. You know, it wasn't terrible, except for the Young Thug parts. It was inoffensive. It was uninventive. I don't think that it deserves repeat listens all the way through. I think it's definitely way too long. And you can make the argument it's a playlist, but if it's going to be a playlist and it's considered a Drake album under a lot of the listings on Wikipedia and you know, Spotify, I'm going to consider it an album. And as an album, it's too long. Some of the songs just are too similar within the song itself and within the run of songs that it's in. Some of those standout tracks made the album not get a lower score than 6.5, but overall, this will never get another full listen from me. I'll go back to those songs I mentioned that were great, but yeah, Drake, I don't know what you're doing, man. I really hope that in 2018 you come out with something completely mind-blowing, because if another album like this comes out, I'm going to have to write you off and say that you're done, and that sucks because I love some of your early stuff. I want to hear what you think of this. Make sure you go listen to the album, leave a comment, let me know what your thoughts are. If you like this video, like it, please subscribe, and new videos every Wednesday. What's going on? It's tree? No,
it's not a tree.
It's explosion. It's explosion. Jesus. Got a cool gatefold. It's an explosion, just like the front. And